Hi, and we're in February, and I realized I never did my December or my January wrap-ups. So you know what? Let's just call it a winter wrap-up. I'm still working on the Ecuador video. It's just been really busy. My husband and I were in the process of house buying. I've been looking at a lot of houses. We actually put offers down for 2 different houses, and I was like, I'm not exciting news. We got outbid. We put 15% over the asking price, and we were still outbid. So that's how life's going. So it's just like, on top of my usual things, I've just been dealing with a lot more. I'm actually going to Japan, and I'm hoping, I will have that Ecuador video out before we leave Japan. And then when we are in Japan, I'm going to actually not make it one long video, because I will, we brought no laptops with us. Like, my husband, he was like, I'm gonna delete Slack from my phone, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But he does not disconnect it for work. And he's like, oh, it was a big step. But we did not bring any laptops with us. But since we're going to be going for almost 2 months, work is still gonna be happening. So bringing our laptops, and I will be doing I'll try to do weekly or every bi-weekly for the 2 months that we're gonna be, month and a half we're gonna be there. And I will have that Ecuador video out then. Anyway, super long ass intro. I read a ton of books. Let's see if I can show you the stack. Yeah, that's my stack. I read a ton of books, and I should probably share them. I have not put away my planner from last year, because I was saving because I had to take this video. And I'm like, yeah, I have my book reviews in here. No, I didn't do it for December. I'm like, what is wrong with me? I brought this to Ecuador with me so I can do this. I swear I wrote this in here and I didn't. I don't know. Anyway, starting off December, I tried to make it my cozy month, and I read The Teller of Small Fortunes. I also have the Owl Crate version, and tell me, which one looks cozy? This one, yeah. The thing I like about the Owl Crate version is I do like their sign. Oh, I like this, and I like this, because you see actually all the characters, and I loved all the characters. I love this, and I love the stamp, which is why I'm not gonna get rid of it. Also, I really loved this book. This book was so nice. When you read the author letter, you see that the author, I think she was born in Asia, and then she came to the United States, and then she went back to Asia, and both times she felt like an outsider in, and it was a very big jarring thing for her. And I'm not an immigrant myself, my husband is. He came when he was 6, and my parents were. My mom came when she was 13. Even so, I still have I'm not American enough for Americans, and I'm not Ecuadorian enough for Ecuadorians, so I'm kind of in the middle. So I can't imagine how it is for actual immigrants, how much more jarring it is. It's a conversation my husband and I have had, because I do speak Spanish, and I will do Spanglish. Actually, hold on, I really want my tea and I left it over there. And I'm back. Sorry, I just really want my tea. And it was staring at me, and this is so cute. I know Valentine's already passed, but I love my Hello Kitty. Anyway, and so he has a weird thing with speaking Spanish, because growing up here, he was basically penalized for speaking Spanish in school, and it kind of traumatized him. And I don't say that lightly, it really did. And he's getting better at it now, and he used to I don't want to say scold me, but scold me when I would try to do Spanglish. He himself doesn't do it, but I acclimated him too, so when I do it, it doesn't because it would just trigger a response in him, because yeah, it was just if you're a little kid and you're being yelled at, you're being told horrible things because you're speaking your language, obviously as an adult that's gonna have repercussions. Fortunately, I didn't experience that, but yeah, I could relate a lot to that, not to the level my husband did, but I could still relate to it a lot. So I really appreciated this. It went a little bit too much into it, and I can get for people who don't have this experience, it may have been annoying, but I really appreciated it, and I thought this was so cozy. So basically, I'm realizing I'm not even telling you what it's about. So we have this main character she's a teller of small fortunes. She doesn't tell big fortunes. I wonder why. You'll find out why. And she's just traveling around, seems like she's running away from something. And then she ends up making a found family of like this guy who's like an adventurer who met up with a reformed thief who is hilarious. He is so funny. And then this baker who is not a very good baker. Like, her stuff looks horrible, but apparently it's delicious. And it's a cute little found family as they move around. The baker's trying to find out what the hell she wants to do with her life. The other guy's indebted to the adventurer guy, and he's looking for his daughter. And yeah, and it was oh, and there's also like a cat. There's the cat, and the cat is just so random. I thought the cat would have a bigger place in the story than it did. It didn't, but it was good enough. And I'm not gonna lie, the ending was a little twee. It was a little bit much, but it's okay. I appreciate it. And I gave this book 5 stars because it was so cozy. I love the atmosphere. It was the right amount of everything, although I totally get it's not for everybody. But it was 100% for me. This is going on my favorite shelves. It's not going into storage. The Owl Crate version is going into storage because I don't have space to put repeats, but this is 100% going on my favorite shelf out like this. The next book I did is because I said I'm gonna read the Wayfarer series if it is the end of me, and I did. Oh, also, if you hear the music in the background, I'm currently reading Chamanes Eléctricos en la Fiesta del Sol by Mónica Ojeda, who is an Ecuadorian author. I actually bought this book in Ecuador, and I have my friction highlighter and my friction pen. This is actually an Animal Crossing. No, it's a Ghibli Warehouse pen. I got both of these while I was in Japan. And because I have so many highlights, well, the highlights are like passages I really loved, and then like I find a good. Oh, here you go. Like what the words are, because this is Andean, Gothic Andean, and I totally get why. But it's also very literary, so there's some things in here that I would never have known what they were. I even asked my husband, he knows some of them, but other things like, what is that? So freaking good. Jawbone was translated in English. You saw me here speak about it on the channel. I really enjoyed it. It's on my Ecuadorian shelf. I'm enjoying this so much, but let me stop talking about that. But anyway, so the translated, this is Electric Shamans in the Festival of the Sun, which is Inti Raymi for non-Andeans. Andeans. It sounds like I'm saying Indians, but I'm saying Andeans, like Andes. And so this is basically like techno fused with like traditional Andean music. And a lot of these are Ecuadorian artists. Some of them are Bolivian, I saw. Freaking love it. But anyway, so in case you were wondering, what is that music in the background? I'm not even sure how it's gonna come out. Anyway, back on track. So the next book was A Closed and Common Orbit. And actually, what was this one about? It was a while. Hold on. No, wait. I don't know why I had to look this up. I literally think about this book at least like every other week. I gave this book a 5 stars. So basically, so for the Wayfarer series, they're standalone. It's a series, but they're standalones, and they do talk about things that happen in each one. Like you'll see, like not if not cameos, then like hear about events or hear about people. The first and the second book, you need to read the first one before you read this one. It's very big, so I'm trying very hard not to give it away. But basically, the gist of the story is that this talks about sentient AI, which is very interesting considering we're not in sentient AI right now, but we're talking a lot about AI and AI taking jobs and stuff like that. And like, you know, eventually we'll get to like morality questions. And this is tackling morality questions where a sentient AI is put into a human body, which is illegal in their universe, in their galaxy, I guess. And she's not happy. She's not happy being forced into a human body, but she has no choice. And it's very interesting reading this. And I literally was thinking about this earlier this week, and I was gonna ask my husband something because I know he's never gonna read these books, unfortunately. And yeah, it's just, I was gonna ask him a question like about this, and I don't know how Becky Chambers does it. She somehow manages to write cozy sci-fi, because it's sci-fi, but she gets deep. Like, she was asking all these philosophical and all these like ethical questions, and it was outstanding. I literally read this on the plane going to Ecuador, and I finished it before we got to Ecuador. So like this literally lasted me a whole plane trip, because there's no more direct flights to Ecuador anymore. There used to be when I was young, and that's how we get to Ecuador. Now you have to do escala, you have to do layover. Sorry, I forgot the word in English. I have to do a layover in like Miami, Houston, or Panama are the three main places you have to do layover. We did our layover in Houston, and yeah, I basically read this on the flight to Houston, on the layover, and actually I didn't have time to read in the layover in Houston, but then the flight from Houston to Quito, I was finished with this, and it was great. A 5 out of 5, highly recommend. It was so good, and like I said, I still think about this a lot. I love this. Next book I read was Bookshops and Bone Dust, and I guess this is my broken binding version, and it is also signed. So I read this while in Ecuador, but like I said, I've mentioned before, and you will see when I finally finish putting my Ecuador footage together, I got like really sick in Ecuador. I like to think I have a strong stomach, but I don't. My husband was fine. It was just me. So I ended up like listening to audiobooks a lot, and I almost finished Crescent City the whole time, so I didn't really physically read. I did bring this to Galapagos though, and I finished this on the flight back from Galapagos, because it's like Galapagos is like out there, which I knew, but it didn't really quite click. But yeah, so I finished this finally coming back from Galapagos. I really liked it. I gave this a 5, which I think I gave Legends and Lattes like a 4, because I really enjoyed it, but it still had like something missing. This, especially if you are a bookish person and you love reading about books, like I'm realizing I love that meta-iness. I love people, I mean obviously I'm setting up videos, I'm watching, like my friends love watching YouTube, and they'll like watch all these crafty people, all these like history people, and like I'm into that stuff, but I don't make the time to watch it on YouTube. I will, however, watch booktubers, because I love watching people talk about books. That's probably why you're watching me, and I'm internally grateful. Thank you, and please keep subscribing and watching and liking. But I realize I love people talking about books. I love that. I love talking about books, clearly, and I love books that are like that, which is why I love this. And also we had the rat person, I forgot what they're called, the homo person, who's my favorite character in Legends and Lattes, and I love her too. She's so cute. I know, I'm sorry, but so cute. And this was just, it was great. I loved it. 5 out of 5. So basically this is like a prequel to Legends and Lattes. So we have Viv, I think her name is, right? Viv. This is like when she first starts out, like literally she like is trying out for this campaign, and then she finds herself injured because she's young and dumb. We're all young and dumb. You know what I'm talking about. Unless you're currently young and dumb, and then in the future you're gonna understand. So she ends up being stuck in this place, and she's so angry at herself because she's too injured to move on, and she's hoping that the guy in charge is gonna come back for her, and then he's not just saying we're gonna come back. And she's angry and doesn't want to do anything. And then she ends up like, making friends and ends up reading, which she was not a reader. And there's more stuff that happens. I just don't want to give it away. There is an actual plot. There is a reason why it's called Bone Dust. It was fantastic. I really loved it. I highly recommend if you need a nice cozy read. It had just enough stakes to make it, interesting. Which I think is a lot of people's problems with Legends and Lattes. They said it wasn't high stakes enough. I think this has a little bit higher stakes, but it's still cozy. So cozy. The next book I read, oh, I slammed that, I'm so sorry. The next book I read was when we came back. So I did start reading another book, but I didn't finish. I paused it because I was like, it's Christmas season. I want to read a Christmas book. It's up there, the Make You Mine. I forgot. It was like also an Afterlife book. I absolutely adored that book. I remember before I left, I read it. It was so great. So I'm like, yeah, Limit Crate's giving me the cutest. I mean, not Limit Crate. Aftercare. Afterlight. What is it called? I forgot. They're giving me the cutest little Christmas book. Of course, I'm gonna read it. I don't like her work. I forgot. I got the first book that they sent from her, which is not Astrid. Astrid was the second one. What is it? Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I really did not like her books. I do not like this book. I gave this a 1. Both these people are horrible people. They are trash. So I think it's like she left her at the altar, and now they're forced to like spend the Christmas season together because forced proximity, and she's trying to be like, yeah, I don't know her, like, oh, I've never met her before. And you just see, but you see, like, she definitely has avoidant attachment, which I do too, so I get it. But like, she's just outright cruel, like, to her supposed best friends. This girl just, it does not understand responsibility. And I did not like the two people. They had a horrible relationship. I didn't find the chemistry. I did not like them. I don't know how I persevered. I don't quite remember everything that happened. Very disappointing. I'm gonna keep it just because this is really cute, and I'll put it out for the holidays. This is gonna be decor. But that's it. No. Then I finally decided to finish the Wayfair series, and I read a record. No, it's not finishing. Sorry, this is book 3. Hold on. What was book 3 about? Give me a second. Okay, I remember. I also think about this one. So it's A Record of a Spaceborne Few. Duh. I love this book too, and I think about it. And I was saying, especially right now in the current, if you're not feeling great with everything going, if you're American and you're not feeling great with everything going on, I really love this. It was like a beautiful, hopeful book. I'm getting all teary-eyed. Because this is kind of like a utopia. Not really, but so this does not take place, I mean, it takes place in space, but it does not take place in space. So basically what you have to know about the Wayfair series is that it's like Earth got destroyed. Like, Earth, we kill Earth, which we're in the process of doing in real life. And humans realized this, and they took to the stars, and they built these crazy spaceships that they were going to live in, and until they could find a new Earth. And this really goes into how they lived it, because it takes place in their spaceship. It's not a spaceship, that's the wrong thing, like their space station. And it really goes into the details about the space station. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't understand what the plot was, because you're following like 5 different people that are not related at all. And then at the very end, you see why you're following everyone, and like something big happens. And it actually made me cry. Yeah. It's not very emotional, but like, she gets you, because she like, it's not a big book. It's still cozy. She talks about, like, you know, in this society, they realize that the only way they'd be able to survive is to be inclusive. So, you know, people could be whatever gender they want. They can be whatever sexual orientation they want, and it's okay. They realize that, you know, resources are not infinite, and they're all not about recycling, they're all about reusing. And, you know, to the point that humans aren't buried, they're composted. People can feel ick about, and like, there's literally like a job about that. And that's one of the people that you follow is actually whose job, she's like one of the funeral people. And they understand it might be ick to eat food from that, so they use that compost for like the park areas, and then they'll put a little flag saying that human race just here. And I'm like, I've always thought, I already said, like, when I die, I want to be a weeping willow. Like, before I met my husband, which is like, we're going on about 11 years now, I've said I want to be a weeping willow when I'm dead. And I've said, like, I put a lot of thought into this. Like, I wish we could, like, because if you look at old, like, Victorian cemeteries, and like even here in the United States, like Roomba Cemetery in Brooklyn, or the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in Sleepy Hollow, there's like, people used to have picnics there because they're beautiful and park-like. And I was just like, what if it was actually a park, and your relative or your family, like, you have a literal family tree, like you're buried under a tree, and then your nourishment for the tree. I've given lots of thought about this, and I'm starting my segue. And so, yeah, so like, that's one of the things they understand reusing is important, not just recycling. Like, reusing is very important, very cycle lifey. They understand these things, and they understand like, we're in it together. We have to pitch in, so they barter. They have no currency, which is like very interesting when it then talks about, like, you know, like, so humans thought they were alone, and then they find out, and this, you know, obviously what I've said, what I love about the first book is that, you know, humans, we think we're the biggest and best. We're not animals. Like, people refuse to admit that we're animals. It's like, dude, we're animals. In this universe, we're seen, like, we barely made it into the alliance that they have of sapient creatures. And like, we're looked down upon. And there's like a hilarious section in here about cheese. They're like, wait, did they really? Oh no, it's not this one. It's in the other one. Sorry. And we barely made it in. Like, these, and you see in the space station that they only actually managed to survive because they were able to do better technological advances that they didn't come up with, that the other, it's kind of like how humanitarian aid that the other species gave to the humans. And that's how they really were able to not just survive, but to able to thrive. And then later on, people start leaving the space station, and that's like, you know, like the main characters of the first book were, it's actually related to somebody here, and he comes from here, but he like lives, he's like, it's like, they have terms for like on space station, out of space station. But yeah, it just talks a lot about society, and it's just beautiful. Like I'm getting all teary-eyed, like, and emotional thinking. It was such a good book. I recommend this series. I totally get why people were like, this is amazing. Becky Chambers is amazing. Chef's kiss. I love this. 5 out of 5. All right. Next one is The God and the Gumiho. I don't know why, and I probably pronounced it wrong. I thought there was like a B in here. I swear I know how to read. I was really excited to read this. Look how cozy and cute it looks. Not my cup of tea. I was able to finish it. I did finish it. It's just, it has these like character things I hate. I don't know how to describe this. It's like, she's supposed to be like a 1,000-year-old fox, but she acts like a bratty 18-year-old. And it annoyed the heck out of me. So inconsistencies like that just drive me nuts. Like the world, like how do we have, like I love urban fantasy, don't get me wrong, I do like urban fantasy a lot, but it didn't feel fully fleshed out. Like, how do we have this world where supernaturals exist, and like how are they like using currency? Like I don't know. I can't even remember exactly my issues with this because I read it a while ago. I gave this a 2. It was written well enough that I was able to finish it. I did not DNF it. Also, like, look at the I'm saying the font, but that seems wrong. But like the spacing. So it was easy to read, but it was also very obvious like what was gonna happen. I thought it was gonna be a little bit different, but then I'm like, oh, okay, we're going this way instead. I called it. Like, it was very obvious, and I don't know. I was quite disappointed with this. And then I finally finished with The Galaxy and the Ground Within. This is the one I liked the least. I thought it was okay. It was my least liked. It's also, I think, the smallest. And so this one is about, yeah, I think I give it a 4.25. Oh, this is the last book I read in December. So I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books in December. So this one, it also only takes place in one place. So basically there's like this, like, it's not a planet, it's like little more than an asteroid. It's a little rock, there's nothing there, but it's like at the perfect point, like a wormhole with people doing like extended jumps into space, that like business started popping up because you can't all go through it, and there's like bottlenecks. So like it became like a store of a planet of convenience stores and like hotels to do that. And so it takes place in one because something happens and there's a disruption and they're stuck all together, and they can't leave. Like, they're like, I imagine, like, you know, SpongeBob with like, what's her face, the squirrel and her little bubble. I imagine like they all have their own little bubbles, and they have like different races here, including one race that we've never met, I think, and they're a very elusive species. They're actually they basically went through like an ethnic cleansing, and because history is written by the survivors, they aren't even considered a sapiens species, and they're looked down upon, and there's like they're wary of them, but she was actually really nice, and they're like it's very interesting. And because, you know, species are different, like they have a shorter lifespan, so it's very interesting, like the things they talked about. It was not my favorite book. Again, I gave it a 4.25, but I still really enjoyed it. It's the least cozy, honestly, I think. But I still really enjoyed it. I really loved it. I really hope Becky Chambers comes back and we can get more of these, and I hope Illumicrate Crate makes beautiful editions. I will unhappily pay for the shipping to the US. I do not regret purchasing these, that's for sure. But yeah, so that was that. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep slamming them. I'm so sorry. I sometimes I don't know my own strength, and I'm not that strong, I swear. My new planner, which also I have been writing my book reviews, I swear. So for January, so I actually started New Year's sick. I don't remember if I talked about this. I actually, my brother and sister-in-law, they had like a annual New Year's party, and I told my husband, go. I'm like, what, you're gonna stay here and I'm gonna be miserable and make you miserable? I'm like, go. He was looking forward to it, and I was sick, but I honestly thought it was allergies at first, and then I was like, oh no, I'm getting worse. And then New Year's Day comes, and I had a fever. I don't get fevers, and I had a fever. I actually had a 102 fever, and I've never had a high fever like that. Like, I had 3 fevers in my life, and they were like 100 degrees. I literally thought I had meningitis because my head hurt so much and my neck hurt. And I was like, David, I have meningitis. I have to go to the hospital. And he's like, you don't have meningitis. And the fact that I just wanted to be unconscious so bad, and I couldn't, I literally just laid on the couch here. My husband was next to me, keeping me company. We had the lights off, we had the TV on. He went to the store like 4 different times for me on New Year's Day. Thank goodness Walgreens was open. And he bought head ice packs because my head hurt so much, and I just had it over my eyes because I could not take the light, and I couldn't fall asleep. I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have meningitis because I should be like knocked out, shouldn't I? I should be having a hard time staying cognizant. Finally, I was only taking Aleve because that's my pain reliever / fever reducer of choice. But like I said, I've only ever had fevers that were 100 degrees, which barely qualify as a fever. Never had a 102-degree fever. So my husband went out yet again, got me a Tylenol, and that broke my fever. And I had to take it for 2 more days until my fever like officially broke. And as soon as my fever broke, I still had a slight headache, but it wasn't that bad. And my neck pain went away. And I'm like, maybe I don't have meningitis. Anyway, all of this to say that I had such a bad headache that I could not really read, but I didn't want to watch TV. And like after like the 2 days, my husband went to go do his thing, and I'm like, I don't want to keep watching TV, but I can't really read. So before we left, I had bought myself The Hidden Landmarks of New York because I'm a history nerd and I'm in the city enough, and I'm always looking at the pretty buildings. And so I read this. He even says like, I thank you if you actually read this and don't leave it as a coffee table book, because this is 100% a coffee table book. But I really loved it, and I love reading about history. Actually, it's also really crazy. I thought that was the end paper. No, it wasn't. But yeah, it's just like, it was really good. It was very expensive. So I'm very happy I actually did read this, and I want to go visit some of these, or at least look from outside, like the creep that I can be. But yeah. So I read this, and I'm pretty sure I gave this a 5. Yes, I gave it a 5 stars, because I mean, so I still wasn't feeling that great. So I read the other book that I bought from Ecuador, and you're going to see in my video when it finally comes out, which is Altos Andes del Ecuador, or the High Andes of Ecuador. This is an expensive book. I think it's like $40. I bought this in Ecuador. But I really wanted it because, one, it was bilingual. So it's in English, and then it's in Spanish, and then in English. And the photos here are beautiful, and I really loved what they said. Hold on. So it's called the Cordillera, which comes from the word cordal, which means cord, and this strangely entwined mountains give homage to their etymology. Tangled braids, sometimes taut and thin, in other places loose with added strands. The word Andes comes from the Quechua Anti, meaning east. Antisuyo was one of the Incan provinces of Tahuantinsuyo, all of which fell east of the empire, where the great mountains rose up. So, I would like to one day climb Chimborazo. I don't think it's going to happen, but at least I know. From the summit of Chimborazo, which by the way is the highest peak in the Andes, the uninterrupted view stretches out to the coastal plains and even to the Pacific Ocean itself. And this, what I'm about to read also came up in something that I was reading in the other book. Humboldt, who's a European explorer, I think he was German, who came to climb all of them. Actually, I'll read the whole thing. Friedrich Wilhelm Heinrich Alexander von Humboldt, the cosmopolitan German scientist who came to America with a multitude of curiosities, spent just over 6 months in what is now Ecuador. He described vast number of plants for science and sowed early thoughts of liberty in the restless souls of the native ruling class. He made an unsuccessful attempt at the summit Chimborazo, but reached the height that at that time was thought to be the highest climb made by any human being. In recent years, the mummies of Inca sacrifices have been found at places higher than the height reached by Humboldt. Huayaco in Argentina and Ambato in Peru. These findings are worth some reflection, showing us that not all human advancement can be credited to Western civilization. Love that snark. Humboldt talked about the natives of this land in this way. Quitonians are strange and unique beings. They sleep peacefully amid smoking volcanoes. They live in poverty amid incomparable riches, and they cheer up with sad music. His words ring true even today. Although we are certainly less poor, we've exploited some of the riches. Unfortunately, too much of that wealth has gone to feed our corruption. We continue to live between foreboding but benevolent creators. Thanks to globalization, we listen to happier music, but we would seem to have lost some of our happiness. I love that quote, and it's actually really funny because it also came up in here. And also because this deals a lot with, like, obviously music festival, and talking about, like, sad music, and a lot of our traditional music, well, the música nacional is very sad. I really love this, and also, like, the photos in here are just so pretty. I also really love this, where archaeological remains have been found even in the most remote areas. Before the conquest, natives had visited the mountains, motivated by both geographical necessity and a sense of spiritual respect. Catholicism set out to, and succeeded, in erasing many native beliefs. This project went hand in hand with the pressing political system that allowed little space for questioning, neither from the judges nor from the subjugated. As a result, Ecuador's mountain peaks went unnoticed for centuries, pushed into the backdrop as ornamentation on the landscape. The scientists and other curious men who ventured out into the mountains, almost always foreigners, were thought of as an extravagant, strange characters for the general population. And I just thought that was really interesting, and I just loved it because I feel like an affinity to the mountains. Whenever I am in Ecuador, I love going and seeing the mountains. They bring me peace. I mean, going and seeing the mountains. We live in the mountains. I am on a mountain. It's cool. This is also, I don't know where it is, but it showed that, like, Chimbora, like, technically, oh yeah, this is, Quilotoa. We were there. Unfortunately, the footage you're gonna see when I do is not gonna be this pretty because it was raining when we went. But yeah, a lot of, Chimbora, so yeah, Mount Everest is technically the highest peak on Earth. However, like, look at this. This is literally a town inside of a crater. That's so cool. I want to visit this. It's on my new list next time I go to Ecuador. Not that far from Quito. But technically Chimborazo is actually the furthest out into space you can be because of the people are there. Because of the equatorial tilt, because of the way we are. Is that Ramantor? No, that's Cotopaxi. Oh yeah, this is Quito right here. Oh yeah, Panecillo, which you can't see any of this, I'm realizing. You will see this on my video. We went there. And yeah, I just like, look at these photos. They're so pretty. Look at all the waterfalls. This apparently is like the biggest caldera. It's like miles long. It's called chalupas, which I thought was funny. I'm like, I don't know why I assumed chalupas would be like Mexican or something. I guess this is Taco Bell and Tex-Mex. Like, look at that. That's so cool. I thought that Tungurao, yeah, Mama Tungurao. This is where my husband is from. She's you will see footage of her not erupting though. This is not alpaca. This is, it doesn't say what it is, but I forgot what they're called. But yeah, I hope you can sort of see this. It's gorgeous. I just love the photos on this, and it's mostly a photo book. And I read this. Oh, this is Ingapirca. I was here. This is in the south of the country. It's nearby where my father is from. So I was there when I was a teenager. I would love to visit again. But yeah. So I'm just gonna show all these beautiful photos. I'm sorry if I'm boring you, but it was a beautiful photo book. I don't know if you can buy this book here in the States. I had to I tried to put this into Storygraph, and this is the first time that I input an ISBN. They're just like no. We do not have this. So I had to literally import everything myself. So if you're nosy like me and you want to see it, here you go. And you can always stop if anything strikes your fancy. And it's a pretty short book. I loved it. It was so good. Obviously I gave this a 5 stars. Nice little sneak peek into when I finally set out to finish and give out my Ecuador vlog. Because we did go to Baños. Oh, who's this? Oh, it's Cotopaxi. We did not go to Cotopaxi. We drove by it, but unfortunately it was raining, so we didn't get a good view of Cotopaxi. Although, of course, like before we went there, it was so sunny. And when we get there, it started being overcast because apparently from my dad's house, you can see the volcanoes. You can see through the volcanoes. But when we were there, of course not. But like I said, when we went to Baños, which is on Tungurahua, it's called Mama Tungurahua. So it's Taita. Taita is Quechua for father. And then Tungurahua is called Mama Tungurahua. There's like, this actually, that's another thing I loved about this, is that there was a story. Apparently there's a Quechua story that, like, yeah, you have Mama Tungurahua and Taita Chimborazo. But Mama Tungurahua had an affair with, I forgot what's called, one of these volcanoes, who it has like the northern and sur and the south part, and he's like a little bit broken. And the reason he's a little bit broken is because Chimborazo went and beat him up from messing with his woman. So I just, like, it was just funny to see. Like, I know none of these legends. I wish I knew, but I don't. And I think next time I go to Ecuador, I'm going to buy a book of Incan mythology. And I just don't want Incan mythology because my people aren't Incas. My people, my father. Oh, also, do you see this bird? It's a hummingbird. It's like the hummingbird that goes most to the north, I think. Yeah, if there's a bird that symbolizes the Andes other than the condor himself, which is the national bird of Ecuador, it is the hummingbird, a family species here known as quindas, colibris. Colibris are picaflores. Here in the Cordillera, they occupy every tier of altitude, every niche. There is no valley or ridge that doesn't have one of these stunning birds, which we saw so many. And you're gonna see, like, we saw like one to hummingbird reserve. Only the glaciers are beyond the reach. So yeah, this I think is the one that goes to the highest, which is crazy. It's so pretty. But yeah, so like I know from my father's side, it would be the Cañari. Actually, his prom is called Cañar. And I have no idea from my mother's side. No idea. And I wish I could know more of that information, and it's just lost. Or hard to find. Oh yeah, and this is, not Pelileos. When we went years ago to Carnaval in Ambato, which is my husband's from, oh yeah, Mama Tungurahua. Pijaro. So that's Pijaro. And that's how cool, because it's in the Tungurahua province. So there's the volcano, and then these are, I found, so they were part of the parade that we saw, which is in Ambato, which is the capital of the province. And they were so, like, they were mischievous, and they interacted with the crowd. They interacted with me even. And we're like, what are they? And apparently, here, let me read it to you. Because I had no idea, and even my husband's parents didn't know, and his mom's father was from this town. In Pijaro, devils take over the streets for first days of the year. The custom seems to come from the time when the Spanish were trying to impose Catholicism. The rebellious natives came out in opposition, taking various forms, including the ones that provoked the priests, devils. So that's where that tradition came from. I'm like, oh, now I know. That's so cool. I'm so happy I got this book. It is worth the ridiculous amount of money it costs. Oh, and also, so this is actually like a native flag. Let me see if I can find it. Alto Veleños, I've always loved their shirts. They make the best. If you're ever in Ecuador, go to Alto Veleños if you want textiles. They're well known for it. They make the best textiles. She's Alto Veleño too, I think. Did we pass it? Oh, here. No, this is Azogues. This is where my father's from. This is his town. This is La Virgen del Santuario de la Virgen del Rocío. you do the 10 commandments going on these switchbacks to the very top. The view is beautiful. It took my breath away and I never got it back because you're so high up. I lost my breath. This is years ago. And then down here and expanding out is the village that my father is from. So I thought that was really cool. This is Quito again. Yeah, Quito. And there's one volcano. Here's another one. There's another one. And there's another one. And there's probably more over here. So yeah, so thank you for letting me in. Thank you for letting me show you this. The next book I read, so you can see very light reading, and that sounds sarcastic, but it wasn't. My husband and I read this together. It was cute. I definitely like his Heart and Brain more than just Awkward Getty. Came to 3 stars. All right, then I finally started reading real books, quote unquote. So I bought this on sale. Barnes & Noble was having a huge sale, so I bought these at the means to get these. I count them as one book. I didn't count them as 2 separate books because I know in the UK they come as one book. And they're just 2 short novellas. I gave this a 3 stars. Again, it's like the issue I had with the guy in the Gumiho. Like, the writing is good writing. She can write well. It just is so annoying. Like, it's just very annoying, very bratty. I'm over it. I do not like it. Which I found to be with the rest of the books. Like, I loved the first book. What was it? I forgot what it's called. The first book. Loved it so much. The second book was okay, and then I read the subsequent 2, and I did not like them. I cannot even really remember what happened. I think I'm done with Chloe Gong. I read her first adult book. I hated it, and I'm not continuing. I'll probably watch someone talk about it though, because I am intrigued, but I don't want to read it. And it did make me go to Kowloon, which was really cool, which doesn't exist anymore, but they have a cool little park with an interactive area so you can learn about how it was. So I did do that when I was in Hong Kong, which is cool. The next book I read that I gave a 1 to is Voyage of the Damned. This started out when I first read it, I was having a really hard time concentrating on it, and then I got in, and I really enjoyed the snarkiness of this book. I really did enjoy that. But this book was way too long. It was too just waiting around, twiddle thumbs, woe is me, and I'm like, go do something. What? Also very obvious. I finally was able to figure it out before the reveal, and so much potential. I really enjoyed the writing style, but it was too long. I did not like it. The next one I read was the Dollar Gut Dream Department Store. I bought this off of Mercari. I really like the LitJoy version. I was really hoping to be really nice and cute, like the other Korean books I read. I really love the Welcome to the Hunandong Bookshop. Love that book. It's on my favorite bookshelf. The last chapter got me. I was crying. Look how pretty these end pages are. This is why I bought it, because I'm a sucker for end pages. And the regular edition did not have end pages. I just also had an issue with the world building. I'm just this doesn't it's not sustainable. And it was not it didn't draw me in so much that I was able to suspend belief. So I still kept poking at holes. It could be the translation also. It was a little bit, definitely saying Spanish Tosca was a little bit rigid. The last story did get me though. I actually was crying. So I think I gave this, oh my gosh, my book's thing's going down, so this is lower now. What did I give it? So I gave it a 3.75. The next book I read was my first book. So I decided I'm gonna try to read 3 books in Spanish. This is the first one. Yes, it is the same author, and I bought them at the same time, you'll see. And it's very interesting. So it's called Las Voladoras. And it's a short story collection. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna ease into reading Spanish books. because the other one, even though it's bilingual, I was not feeling well, read only the English part. It was like 10 or 9 different short stories, but it took me more than 9 days to read this because it was just really, it was a lot. Oh, it doesn't tell you the number. Because it's reading Spanish is hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a few stories in here that really like stuck with me. Definitely some of them were more harder than others. She talks a lot about like feminism, like women in life, mother-daughter relationship, horror, violence against women. Yeah, these are not like, this is not light reading. There is some rape, there is sexual assault. Yeah, it's powerful stuff. But yeah, I did like it. And it's actually very funny because you can see some references of this in here. Like, this book came out years ago, and apparently this is published in Spain, and this book was $29. Can you believe that? This was more expensive than this one, just came out last year. And I could see where like this book was brewing in her brain while she was writing the short stories for this, and then this eventually came out. So that's kind of cool to see it. Like she even literally says here like something about a voladora, which is the title of this, and also the first short story, which I still don't quite understand. Yeah, it's very dark. All her work is dark. Oh, also, I think I like took a segue over here. So the music is actually the author's playlist, which is like Chamanes Eléctricos, electric shamans. But yeah, so that's why that's on. I've been obsessively listening to this, like even in the car when I'm obviously not reading, because I'm driving, I will be listening to this if I'm not listening to my podcast. But yeah, it got a little too literary and over my head, and I couldn't quite understand it, and it was in Spanish, so it was extra hard. So I gave it a 4-star. And also it was very dark. Like it was very dark. But yeah, but there's like a few different things in here that I definitely see, like where she pulled out, or she's had this brewing in her brain and trying to probably make it together. It's really great. I like low key wish I can go to like someone's, like I'm bet people in like Latin America, because she's very well known. Like I said, this was published in Spain, so she's very well known in Spanish speaking countries in the literary scene. And I'm sure some college probably has like a class on her, and I wish I could take that, because I'm not smart enough to figure it out on my own, especially since it's in Spanish. I did see that this Colombian book club, online book club, is doing something, and I think they actually got her for the last one in March, so I think it's like $15. I'm gonna see if I sign up for that, because like I'm interested. My Spanish is not that great. I mean, it's okay, but it's rough. So the next book I read was Just That Air. I was really looking forward to it. I especially we got that Illumicrate Crate mug that says she has the temperament of a deranged goose, and I'm like, what? And I unfortunately gave it a 2, and I have like filmed some things of me reading this. It started so strong, it was super enjoyable, and then there's so many plot holes. There's dumb setups, things make no sense. There's a lot of nothing for so many pages. So people like pick this up because they think it's like a trials, because there are 3 trials she has to go to. The trials are like this many pages. It's like minuscule amount. Like most of this is just spent like, I don't even understand what or why. I don't understand the romance. I don't understand this book. I really don't. I tried so hard to really. I should have DNF'd it. I did not DNF it, and I really should have. I'm not gonna lie, I skimmed the last chunk of it, really. I did not like it. It was disappointing. And then finally, oh no, actually, that's lie. I did read, I can't show you because I borrowed from the library. It's called Triple Sec. I gave it 3 stars. So it's a book, it's a poly book. That just came out and people were raving about, and it deals with this bartender who she just got divorced from her, she's been divorced from her wife, and she kind of like gave up on love, and she just focused on like her career as a cocktail mixologist person. And then she meets this woman at like her job, and she's super like cool and like totally coming on to her, and she's like, wait, am I misreading this? I can't tell. And then like the woman's wife comes up. Is it wife? I think it's wife. Yes, wife. I think it's wife. Partner. I'll just say partner. And so she's like, oh, I guess I was just reading it wrong. But turns out that that woman and their partner, and her partner is they're poly, and so, and it's cool because it's not just about the relationship. There's also like things going on about in their each character's lives that gets talked about. However, it was quick enough read. I did start in Ecuador. I just never really got back to it. I really enjoyed the first half. I really liked how, unlike that other S.T. Gibbons book that got preachy about poly and like literally reference polysecure, I was like, okay. I really liked how, oh, there you go. I wrote, it was, first half, teaching about poly without being too preachy, looking at you, invocation. However, and spoiler, it does become a throuple situation, which I'm like, I really want to read about poly couples that aren't throuples. Like, from my understanding, throuples is not a very common occurrence in the poly world. So I kind of want to read not about it being a throuple. So that kind of like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But, you know, I know there's not a lot of poly books, fictional poly books, I should say. But yeah, so I wanted to read, you know, like, have more understanding of that, and so far there's no non-throuple. I mean, I guess technically invocation isn't, but is it? I don't know. And then the other book I read was Getting Too Sorry. I'm also trying to read more nonfiction books. I'm currently in the middle of 3 different nonfiction books that I keep like switching between because the library is telling me that I need to return it and there's a wait list, and so I'm like trying to read it, but then it gets returned and I put a hold and then it comes back to me. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll read the other one that's more urgent. I'll read the other one. So I'm currently on my 3rd one. So I haven't finished any more nonfiction books, but I did read Getting Too Sorry. And just because like it's for working on me. I know with my avoidant attached self, with my issues with like communication, I need to learn better. So I was reading that, and don't buy it. If you were thinking about buying this book, don't buy it. Buy it from the library. Borrow it from the library like I did. It starts off pretty good, but then I feel like there's a lot of fluff and filler. It also gets very political, and their leanings are my way. We believe the same things. But it got very preachy, and I'm just like, I was annoyed by it, and I must imagine if you don't have the same values I do, you must hate it. So I felt like it doesn't belong there. Also, it's just like a lot of like, I don't care about like celebrity or I don't care about this. I did appreciate at the end of each chapter they had like key takeaways, and they did find a way to bring it to you, like, and I even did end up highlighting like at the end of the celebrity chapter like key takeaways, just because they're like, this is what not to do, or like, just remember this is when you apologize, you should do this or whatever. So I would say, if you ever want to borrow it, if you ever want to read it, borrow it from the library, and just like take notes at the end. Like take photos, highlight it on your Kindle so it gets saved, whatever. Don't buy it. All right, now we get to my last book, and it was The Crimson Moth, and this is my Fairy Loot edition. So well written. I totally get why everybody was going crazy about this. I totally get it. I do. However, hold on. It's a very quick read. It's enjoyable, but again, it's not my cup of tea. It had a very obvious plot twist that I'm just like, yeah, like, no duh. I did not like the romance. It felt very forced. I did not feel any chemistry. It did have some good suspense though. Like I remember like one part I was like and I had to like put my book down, like I was reading in bed and I had to put my book down. I was just like oh my gosh. So I will give it that. It's very well written. It never crossed my mind to DNF this book. Unlike the Jill Todd Air, where I thought to DNF it several times and then I didn't. I never thought about DNFing this book. I think I read it, hold on, I have it here. I read it from January 25th to January 27th. And it was a very quick read. It was very enjoyable. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not going to continue this. I did get the Fairy Loot, and if I had the Owl Crate one too, I would have gotten the Fairy Loot edition to match. And it was so pretty. I was very tempted to just because it's so pretty, but I'm not going to read it. I don't care. I do not want to go back into this world. I don't. My time is precious. I'm not going to read something I don't care about. So I'm not gonna read it. However, if one of y'all read it, please let me know what ends up happening, because I am curious. I just don't want to spend time reading it. But again, I will say, very well written, very enjoyable. Like, I'm mad I read this out there. Like, I could have spent time reading something else. I'm not mad I read this. It was very, very enjoyable. And yeah, that is all the books I read. So hold on, let me count how many books I read in January. Wow, I read 11 books in January. I mean, 3 of them were none. 3 of them were like mostly picture books. I mean, one was a comic, but whatever, I'll take it. But yeah, so that was my December-January wrap up. I hope you enjoyed my long rambling, my dive into the Ecuadorian highlands, which I promise you will get that video soon. But yeah, let me know what you thought. If you read any of these books, what you thought, what you're reading now. Let me tell you what I'm reading right now. I'm currently reading this. I'm reading Courting of Bristol Keats, which I was supposed to read last month and that didn't happen. And then the nonfiction book I'm reading is, I'm also reading another romance book on my Kindle that I borrowed from the library called Out on a Limb. That is enjoyable, so good. I like read 80 pages last night at 11 p.m. as I was super tired, and I did not realize I read 80 pages in one sitting. It went like this. Like, it took me so much longer to read 20 pages in The Icon and the Idealist. That's what I'm reading. That's my nonfiction book that is on my Kindle because I borrowed from the library. It took me like same amount of time, I think, to read the 20 pages I read in that one. So very, very good. Really good banter. If you like banter, that's one for you. But yeah, I was gonna do a TBR video for what I was gonna do February, but we're midway through February and that TBR flew out the window because I'm trying to balance all my Kindle books. Like, I have a nice little pile over here of all the romance books that I was gonna read this month and I've not touched. But yeah, I'm trying to be better. It's just life has been crazy. So, I mean, life's been crazy for all of us, hasn't it? So, I'm sure y'all feel me. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. Please, I really do want to know. I love talking. I would love to reply to you. Strike up a combo. And yeah, thank you for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye.